Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this particular video, I'll be responding to a question I got from user Labyrinth35 about what I'd like to see after Batman vs. Superman, or the Man of Steel sequel, whatever it's going to be called, for the DC Cinematic Universe. And for me, anything goes. I would love to see everything from Justice League, all those characters. I'd love to see a Justice League Dark movie, as Guillermo del Toro was supposed to be working on. I'm not sure how into that they've gotten as yet. But, for me, anything goes. I'd love to see it all. I want to see a Flash movie. I'd love to see a Wonder Woman movie that is akin to that short film that was made recently by Rainfall Films, or whatever it's called, which was just, astounding to see. They actually really got the idea and the concept of Wonder Woman right for this modern movie-going age, as far as I'm concerned. And, I'm tentatively hopeful about Batman vs. Superman, in that this will be a meeting of these two great characters, and that's a lifelong dream for me, seeing these characters in a live-action film on screen together. So I would love to see other references to heroes and potentially villains in that film, even. I saw somebody make a post on Facebook recently saying that since the film is opening with a, spoiler alert, football game of sorts between Metropolis and Gotham City, it would be great to have Cyborg, playing as one of the football players, kind of how they opened up the Justice League comics in the New 52 and everything, where he's injured in one of the first several issues and becomes Cyborg by the end, That would be something fantastic. I would love to see that. I would love to see Barry Allen and Wally West, maybe in a whole Flash movie sort of franchise where it's passed down from generation to generation, or there's a time warp thing going on, Wonder Woman again. I would love, love, love to see a lot of the mythology embraced behind the character and her origins and everything, and just brought into the modern age in a very epic film quality, and style. And I'm really hopeful, based on the words that have been coming out of Warner Brothers and, the people behind the DC Films productions, are taking this seriously enough to actually go that route. I did see somebody make a post or a comment somewhere that I thoroughly agreed with, about what I would have loved to have seen after Man of Steel. Now, initially, going back on my original interpretation, I would have loved to have seen a strictly Man of Steel sequel and then moving on from there. But I'm on board with the Batman vs. Superman, putting those two characters in a new movie, directly following on that, as long as they play on certain story elements like, the aftermath of what essentially Kal-El left behind, with his having to stop these crazy, insane Kryptonians led by Zod and everything like that. And the world is going to be skeptical about him, I think. And I think Bruce Wayne will be one of those people, potentially Lex Luthor as well. They may team up to try to stop the Kryptonian, or at least rein in his power. And I can see some really interesting things going on with that. So I'm on board with that now. But I like what somebody was talking about, how the Man of Steel sequel should be called Man of Steel World's Finest. I think that is a much more adequate, name for this particular film. And moving on from there, you would have a sort of, to round out a trilogy, you would have Man of Steel Trinity, which would introduce Wonder Woman. And from there, I think you would have laid successfully enough the foundations. And I think, as I say before, pepper through that other heroes and villains, potentially mentions here and there, would be awesome to build up to a Justice League kind of framework. If you get those three characters right, and you begin that way, then it's a springboard. I want to see Aquaman. I really would love to see him, if not headlining his own film with him going against Black Manta or Ocean Master or something like that. I would love to see him in a Justice League film. Again, I'm somebody who very much enjoyed the Green Lantern film, although I did recognize there were certain, cinematography problems with it and stuff like that, timing problems. I probably would have edited it a little bit differently if I had been running it, but I still really enjoyed that film, and I think Green Lantern is much deserved a second chance. With all of these other movies getting remakes and reboots, why not Green Lantern? I think if it's done better, if it's done in a more accessible way and a more grandstanding way, it is something that can just blow the roof off. You know, all of these DC character movies, that's the problem I see most notably recurrent with the people behind them. They don't quite get the aspect of the characters. They're trying to dumb down the characters to the general audiences, and that is not to say that you can't do that to some extent. You have to do that to some extent to make things accessible for everyone, yes. But I think when you're losing fundamental aspects of these characters, that's the largest problem. You know, of course, there's been a lot of debate about whether Superman was in fact Superman for Man of Steel by a lot of people who think they know what Superman is, and I really have to still call that into question. I think there is a lot of, you know, aspect of holding on to nostalgia when it comes to the Christopher Reeves Superman or the George Reeves Superman from the TV show. Even Brandon Routh. There are people who grew up with Superman Returns, and that's their Superman, you know, for better or for worse. It wasn't an entirely bad movie, but I can see a ton of mistakes that they should not have made. And while Man of Steel is not a perfect film from beginning to end, no film can be absolutely perfect, quite frankly. It is still, you know, leaps and bounds into the direction that I wanted to see this whole, you know, thing go, essentially, this whole DC cinematic universe go. And that's going to be the most fun aspect of it, because, as I say, I referenced Justice League Dark a few minutes ago. I would love to see a movie that brings hardcore aspects of science and magic together, marries those two concepts together in this universe. I think that would be a stepping board to understanding that, oh, well, here we have Superman, Kal-El, an alien from another planet who is living as a human being in disguise, has superpowers on our planet. You also have Batman, who is a guy who jumps, you know, from rooftops with a sort of a cape and cowl. Well, over here is Zatanna. She can actually use magic. I think, you know, even though there is a level of realism, I think the realism is how it's depicted rather than that, you know, things that are fantastical cannot exist. Put it that way. Martian Manhunter should be able to walk into a room and morph into his green self, his green, you know, persona, and we should be able to buy that by the end of what they're doing with this cinematic universe. I mean, I would love to see Wonder Woman duking it out with gods like Ares and Zeus. I would love to see Green Lantern going up against the Red Lantern Corps on screen in a film. You know, these are things that are just stupendous and wonderful that it's a shame they haven't been done as yet. And it's my hope that it will rival, if not beat out in the long term, Marvel's. I'm not saying I'm DC versus Marvel or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't understand why there's such a problem when Marvel is so successful with putting great characters in great movies like Captain America, Thor, Hulk, and all these other characters that I'm absolutely just mind-bogglingly in love with, the finished product of these films. Why can they not successfully do this with DC characters? I don't think there needs to be, you know, that many monkeys at the typewriters to get this figured out. I think it's much more easy than they are telling us, put it that way. And so I have grand hopes for the DC Cinematic Universe. As I say, I would love to see a Justice League film bringing all of these characters together, and I would love to see spin-off films. I can't really speak to how popular they would be or how well accepted by the masses they would be when it comes to things like Flash and Aquaman and, as I say, Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, stuff like that. I just can't predict the masses and how they will react to that. But I'll tell you how I'll react. I will just be through the roof, fanboying it up, screaming like a little schoolgirl who just got a lollipop. You know, I mean, it's just going to be an awesome, fun time. I've said this before many times over the last 10 years, and it's no truer than it is today. It is a great time to be a fanboy. And I hope, beyond hope, that they will actually do these things right. They will do it respectably. They will do it phenomenally, and that we will all be just blown out of the water time and time again when each of these movies comes out as they're produced. And so, yeah, Labyrinth 35, I hope that answers your question as best as I can for now. You know, I mean, I could go into depth as far as things that I would do, but I don't really want to delve into that too much story-wise and things like that, just because it's inevitably not going to be what we're going to see, and I don't want to taint that for myself or for anyone else. So, yeah, I just have high aspirations and high hopes, and I'd love to hear from any of my listeners out there who watch this particular video, what your hopes are for the DC Cinematic Universe. What are your favorite characters? Who are you booking to see? And how do you think things should go after Batman versus Superman, if that is, in fact, what it will be called? So yeah, I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.